Hello, 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 and welcome again to my YouTube channel. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. This is your girl Frida. I am your host here to bring you the most, and I am the founder of WDGS on your YouTube page. You can also check me out on various platforms from Twitter to Instagram and my Facebook page. Today, we're moving in a series. How many of you are delighted about the month of March? And in this series, I'm reminded of what my grandmother used to say when I was growing up. She had this saying that if you can make it to March, you can march on through. Oh, I tell you, March begins the different changes in the seasonal atmosphere. And I also want to appeal in this month of March. We're going to be doing a series on the mind. The mind, what makes the mind motivated? Why is your mind motivated and what is it motivated by? We're going to be launching a series between YouTube platform as well as my Facebook WDGS mentors and mentoring platform. I thank you all again for tuning in today. Today, I'm just going to cover the meaning of the word mind. I think so many times we don't really even just think about that meaning. We walk around with our head on our shoulders and we utilize it throughout the waking times of the day, and we never sit down and investigate what does having a mind really means. We're taking this teaching from different biblical fundamental scriptures, which are in the King James Version. Now, one of the scriptures is, be ye transformed. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. How many of you know that wherever you are right now in your life, whatever you're going through, whatever you have gone through, and whatever you will go through, it has taken you to utilize your mind? But have you sat down and really just examined the core of the meaning in the word mind? Well, I tell you, I'm going to share some of the meanings to the word mind. When you define the word mind, the first thing it says that I would like you to think on. I really hope that you think on these things. It said the element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world and their experiences, to think and to feel, the faculties of consciousness and thought. Now, that's very profound. I want you to really think on that meaning. If your mind is the element, it's the element of who you are. That's why there's another fundamental scripture that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So when you find yourself, however you constantly thinking, then that determines the element of the person that you are. If you're always thinking about how somebody should or could always treat you, how somebody should or could do this or that for you. Most of the people in our society who constantly tends to breathe attention and always seeing what someone should do for them, there's a word that is defined for that type of thought process, and it's called selfishness. I just want you to understand, as we explore the series of the mind, we are going to unfold some true, deep meaning to you and who you are. If you see your life right now, you find yourself, you're more sad than happy. You're lonely than embrace. If you make more negative decisions than positive decisions, if you always falling out with friends and never understanding why they push back from you. Oh, I hope somebody grabbed this. This series is going to investigate the motives behind the mentality that you carry, which will generate everything that transpires in your life. Many people will look at money, they'll look at material things, they'll look at the other people's motives in their lives, but they never really sit down and meditate in their own mind space. So in this mentoring session, I just wanted to come on as I launch the 1st of March, the Move into the Mind series. We're going to cover a few more definitions in this introduction. The next definition is the mind is a person's mental process contrasted with physical actions. Oh, I hope you grab that. Let me repeat that again. Your mind, and every time I say mind, I want you to really think about yourself. See, this mind series is strictly individual processing. It is not to go over the fence and think about how your neighbor think. That is one of the most biggest warning signs as we get into this series where the mind gets distorted, because we tend to take our individual mindset, individual thought process, and we like to place them concerning somebody else. But this series is really going to tailor to you and your mental process. Now, the third definition is your mind. And here, every time I say mind, you remember, tune in to your own brain, to your own equilibrium, to your own mental capacity, to your own thought process. So when we talk about this, I'm reading the definition. It says a person's intellect. Have you ever found yourself around people sometime or persons? And this is remember, you thinking about your own intellect. And your intellect will say to you, I have a question mark on my forehead. That's what I like to say. Sometimes people will come in my head because they say certain things, they react certain ways, and especially when I know it's a mind game. And when it's a mind game, you're going to come to realize in these definitions, it's based again upon the actions and the words. When you process intellect, you have to have a certain type of intelligence. Oh, I hope somebody grabbed that. You have to process a level of intelligence. And so when your mind has another level of intelligence, you will always sometime find yourself in situations where you may have to change your circle. Oh, I hope somebody grabbed that. You may have to change your circle. Okay, and the third definition, it says the mind is a person's memory. If you find it where your memory is short-lived and not long-lived, then it's time to investigate the mind. Listen, both are really a benefit. It's good to have short-term memory, but it's even better to have long-term memory. But if you have no long-term memory and a person is always needing to remind you of what you did and what you said, then it's really time to start using the intellect portion of your mind. And the fifth one is the mind is a person's identified with their intellectual faculties. In order for your mind to come to grips with reality, you must begin to personalize how to identify with the intellectual faculties that you have, not the faculties of your neighbor, but how do your mind function? I've always believed that for every person that has a child, children, husband, wife, or spouse, it is utterly important, and I mean critically utterly important, that you reach a place of identifying the intellect within your own faculties. Because until you tap into that, then the relationships that you are working to cultivate that lives in the house with you, oh, I hope you grab this, will not be healthy. You know, I raised 5 children, and in raising my 5 children, I made it a personal point to identify each and every one of those personalities. And they all carried differences. That's why I really get perplexed when people try to compare themselves to the next person. It becomes really critical in your mindset that you identify with who you are, as well as the people that you have to dwell in the house among. Because this is the only way you can know them. I can identify the mindset of my husbands because I live with them, and my children because I live with them, and myself. And let me share this with you all in bringing this to a close. When you are utilizing your mental capacities and your intellect in a household with you, a spouse, and children, in reality, if you try to go outside of that parameter, digging in somebody else's thought process, you will place your own brain into overload. Oh, I hope somebody grabbed that. So many times people try to think how somebody else think. They mama, they daddy, they sister, they brother, they aunties, they uncles, their cousins, their friends, even their enemies. But if you have a spouse and children in your household, your central focal mental point needs to be identifying with the people you are dwelling among. How can you not know who lives among you in your own camp and you worrying about what's going on in somebody else's camp yard? Oh, I hope you grab that. So because a lot of people couldn't understand me growing up, because I had a centralized mental capacity to first and foremost take care of my own business. And we're going to get on down in the series. This is how you can limit your creative ideas when you're spending more time worrying about what somebody else is doing, where they're growing, what you can do to block that or break that. See, then you are exerting unnecessary energy from your mental faculties of identifying who you are. That's why I always say I can never understand how anybody want to hurt somebody. Because if you're sitting down with your own mental intellect, then that lets you know the level that you're on of thinking. And if your thought process of thinking is to try to hurt and harm someone, then that's where your intellect lies. Remember now, keep this in your bag of nuggets. As a man thinketh, so is he. So when you're thinking of retaliating, when you're thinking of showboating, when you're thinking of flexing, when you're thinking of fearing even, when you're thinking of faith even, these are the faculties to identify your mindset. I want to put a pin on each one of these series at a 15 minutes top. I don't want to overload your mental capacity. And I heard something Iyanla Vanzant said many years ago when I was attending a service of my aunt in Atlanta, Georgia at Hillside. She was speaking and she said these words. She said, I'm not going to be long because the mind can only absorb what the bottom can endure. And I thought, oh my goodness, this Yoruban priest, that's how they had her listed at that time in the program. She speak with many words of wisdom. And as my journey, but even though we have workshops and different things, but I do know that in certain topics, and because this series is going to be in depth and intense, I don't want to overload your mental capacities. But I thank you again for tuning in. And I ask you to continue to follow me on my platforms. Remember to give a thumbs up. Please leave me some comments on this series. And also share on my Facebook page to people, friends you know. Subscribe to my channel because in this month of March, we're going to be moving into the mental series for moves that matter. We cannot begin to explore our wealth without tapping into our mind. You all have a beautiful, great, blessed, marvelous Monday as I will tune into your mind each Monday this month. Have a great day. And as always, may you receive blessings that flow into your life. Meet all of your needs, even the things your heart desires, and you continue to prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. Have a great, blessed day. God blessings. Good day.